guys, it's Eric. I'm over at the JFK airport ready to fly out for UFC 200. And this is vlog number 14. I can't believe it's been 10 vlogs ago, number 4, that I was flying out for UFC 100 out of Philadelphia. And now I'm going to see Brock Lesnar fight again. Unbelievable. And I said the same thing back then, I'll say it now, like I told Rodney the other day. You might have to tell me what happened, because as soon as Brock comes out, I might have a heart attack and die. I might not even see it. But this crazy sport of ours, it changes by the second. MMA insiders say it all the time. As soon as we finish recording the show, something's going to happen. And right now we're waiting on finding out whether Daniel Cormier is going to have a new opponent or not. Jon Jones, just as I was packing up my bags last night and recording the intro for the podcast, I was talking about flying out here, and then all of a sudden Jon Jones gets caught. He's out. The dope doped. So looks like we're not going to see Jones Cormier 2 maybe ever, but we're going to probably find out who Cormier is fighting by the time I land here. But one thing I did notice looking back at that old vlog is how much I really did not like flying. Now I've flown so much, no problem. Old hat, smooth sailing. It's pretty nice. I'm gonna get one of those for my yard. Well, we're outside here, the T-Mobile Arena, brand new arena for UFC 200 yesterday. But we're not going to talk about that first. That's not the first event I went to. Now, I did book my flight back in January, so I didn't know there was going to be a fight night on Thursday. And Eddie Alvarez won the lightweight title from Rafael dos Anjos, which was pretty awesome. Hopefully that means they go back to Philadelphia sooner. But Ultimate Fighter, speaking of women, the coaches, Joanna Jędrzejczyk and Claudia Gadelha, that was a great fight. And it was all Claudia for the first couple rounds. I thought she had Joanna's number, but Joanna came back, and that Muay Thai was on point, and glad that the first Polish champion kept her title. She wants to fight in New York like everybody else, so we'll see if that happens. But now we move on to UFC 200. I wish that the fans could have seen the Fight Pass prelims that we saw, because Gegard Mousasi got a big knockout win. We got 3 first-round finishes right in a row, and even the Fox Sports 1 prelim, Sage Northcutt getting out of that dangerous armbar that was looked like it was going to break his arm, so he came through and got the decision win. But I see people complaining, oh, the fights weren't that good or it was boring. But us in the arena, we had so many great fights we already experienced before the pay-per-view started. And we start off the pay-per-view with Cain Velasquez and Travis Browne in the heavyweight division. And that was awesome too. Cain Velasquez breaking out a spinning wheel kick. Who'd have thought that he would have done that? Clayton in the Wrestling Roundtable Facebook group had a great line about maybe Travis Browne will go on Ellen now and cry, which I thought was great. And he said that he wants to get right in the mix for the title again, so we'll see if Cain does get back to form. But then we move on to the featherweight title, Jose Aldo and Frankie Edgar. Hey, the first time around, they went the distance, and it wasn't that great of a fight either, and this was the same thing, so I don't know what people were expecting. But Frankie Edgar didn't become a 2-weight division champion, and Aldo was back into form. Some good striking, wasn't the best fight ever, but it was okay. The best part, of course, was Conor McGregor standing up and making this dramatic, cinematic shot of him standing up, looking at his next opponent, hopefully to unify the title soon later this year. So we could get Aldo and McGregor too if everything goes according to plan, so that's exciting. And then we move on to Daniel Cormier not defending the light heavyweight title against Anderson Silva, because obviously that's a last-minute replacement. Silva didn't even have time to train, took it on 2 days' notice. Really sucks that Jon Jones messed up, because that's what he did, as he usually does, and that's the fight we really wanted to see. But Anderson Silva saving the pay-per-view. I mean, we gave him a standing ovation afterwards because he's a legend, we love him, and how much did you really expect for him to do on just a couple days' notice? And that fight really just went exactly how I thought it would have gone, even if he had time to prepare. Daniel Cormier's not going to stand with the striking master, his Muay Thai and this and that. That's not what he's known for. He's an Olympic caliber wrestler, and that's what he's going to do. He's going to take him down and grind on him, and he did what he had to do to win. It's not flashy, it's not satisfying for the fans, but how else was he going to win? And then that continued with Lesnar and Hunt. Except the difference was, I guess people liked it a little more when Brock was punching him than Cormier elbowing Silva. It's just funny to me with Lesnar bringing in so many pro wrestling fans didn't really like, and a lot of MMA fans didn't like a lot of the fights in this style, but that's what they had to do to win. Lesnar wasn't going to stand with Mark Hunt, the K1 champion, either. he took him down as best he could and won that way. But it's really impressive for Lesnar to come back after so many years and beat a top 10 heavyweight, as everyone kept saying. It's just funny hearing the crowd boo as soon as they go to the ground in this fight versus cheering in Lesnar's fight for the most part. But either way, it was still exciting to see this theme of wrestling. It's funny how the pro wrestling fans don't like the actual wrestling, but Kane, Misha, Brock, Edgar, DC, they all have backgrounds in wrestling, and that was the theme for the night. You need to be well-rounded, not just standing up but on the ground. But that's going to lead us to the main event. Miesha Tate defending the women's bantamweight title against Amanda Nunes, and here's where the complaining seems to begin. I know that Brock Lesnar was the big draw, and that was the real interest, and I kept hearing, even seeing in the arena, that people were leaving, didn't care about the main event, which is ridiculous for the ticket prices that you pay and the pay-per-view prices that you pay. But regardless, whether Brock Lesnar was the more interesting fight or the bigger draw or whatever, I think Dana White made the right decision because Miesha Tate deserved it. She fought a long time and really hard to get the title, and she got screwed over a lot when other people were put ahead of her on the marquee, so to speak, or in the main event. And she did deserve, especially with all this shuffling of the card, to get the pay-per-view main event slot. So I think she deserved it, but she really disappointed. Now, what's interesting here is that, yeah, I know people were complaining about grappling in the earlier fights. Miesha is a wrestler originally, and she's obviously improved since then, and this had no grappling whatsoever. But it's funny how people were like, I don't want to pay all this money for fights that go 14 seconds. But then at the opposite end of the spectrum, if it goes too long, it's boring, or they're complaining. Well, I don't like it when grapplers don't go for a finish either. I love the ground game. I love the technical sense of it. And I know some of the wrestling fans who bought the pay-per-view may not understand that and not know what's going on the ground. But I do want to see wrestlers go for a finish. So I understand those complaints. But you got a finish in the main event that apparently people didn't really care about. And it just really disappointed me that Miesha really technically was only the champion for, 3 minutes? She fought so hard to finally get the title, and they did this ridiculously insulting, in a way, video package before she came out where Dana White is like, she's the toughest female in the world. Besides Ronda Rousey, come on. Rousey is supposed to get a title shot whenever she's ready to come back, but now the division is in such flux after she lost the title. Holly couldn't hold on to it, Miesha couldn't hold on to it, and now I think it's great that at UFC 200, this landmark marquee event, that women main evented when years ago they weren't even allowed to fight. And not only just that, but now we have the first openly gay UFC champion. So that's really cool. And now, much like so many other champions going forward, the divisions are wide open. And there's so many interesting matchups and challengers. So I think it's really cool from that perspective. But as a Miesha Tate Cupcake fan, very disappointed she tapped out. Very disappointed she gave up. I know she got rocked, she got her nose broken, but to tap out so quickly when she says, I never give up, like she did to Ronda Rousey's armbar, I just thought that was really disappointing. If anything, that was my complaint about the event. But otherwise, overall, I had a blast. It was a great weekend in Vegas, lots of great fights. And I know a lot of people, wrestling fans and MMA fans, are complaining about the card not living up to the hype. Yeah, UFC 100 was probably the overall better card compared to that because it actually had finishes. But I had fun right down there at the T-Mobile Arena. What a great view. What a great weekend. So many great fights, and I love coming to Las Vegas. I had a lot of fun, and that's all going to lead up to New York, New York. Well, that's not the real New York, New York, but UFC is going to be going to the actual New York City. Finally, after all these years, they get legitimacy, and hopefully they'll be running in Madison Square Garden in November. But I got to head back to New York myself. And speaking of New York, want to say hello to Dustin and Kelly from Buffalo, who I met out here, fans of the podcast. It was really wonderful meeting you. And I really appreciate everybody who's checked out the podcast so far. If you're a Wrestling Roundtable fan from back in the day, thanks for sticking with us. And Hope you're enjoying the podcast so far, and hoping you're enjoying the UFC weekend that we had. Looking forward to the November show. I will be there. It's going to be my third UFC in 3 different states this year already. So what an amazing year and an amazing time to be an MMA fan. Looking forward to seeing you then. So thanks for joining us. I'll see you back in New York. Like Arnold said in The Expendables 2, I'm back! That's the real Chrysler building. I'm in the real New York City, and it's been a real blast. I had such a great time in Las Vegas, so thank you for tagging along, and thank you for listening to my opinions on UFC 200, the Ultimate Fighter finale, and other things in general. I hope you join us on the next blog. And thanks for enjoying the Wrestling Roundtable over the years. I hope you're enjoying our new venture into the podcast realm, A Few Words with Eric Santa Maria. New shows every Monday, and the feedback's been great so far, as I keep saying, so keep liking, sharing, commenting, supporting. Give us 5-star reviews on iTunes, subscribe on SoundCloud, follow us on Twitter, give us a like on Facebook, and all the other stuff that we always ask for you to do on social media. So thanks for enjoying the blog. See you on the next blog, and keep enjoying A Few Words with Eric Santa Maria. See you next time.